one right there. Unless we're out of time.
Yeah,
We are.
Oh,
yeah. So, Professor Lorenz, you now have your opportunity to.
Is this 5 minutes or?
It is 5 minutes.
When I was doing some research into the Armenian genocide, it's one of the probably more little-known genocides in the 20th century. I came across this telegram, and this was the U.S. ambassador who was in Constantinople in the Ottoman Empire and sees the genocide taking place. This is dated July 16, 1 p.m. This is sent to the Secretary of State, Washington, D.C. And I'd like to read this to you. Have you received my past communication? Deportation of and excesses against the peaceful Armenians is increasing, and from hearing reports of the witnesses, it appears that a campaign of race extermination is in progress under a pretext of reprisals against rebellion. Protests, as well as threats, are unavailing and probably incite the Ottoman government to more drastic measures, as they have determined to disclaim responsibility for their absolute disregard of capitulations. And I believe that nothing short of actual force, which obviously the United States is not in a position to exert, would adequately meet the situation. Suggest to inform belligerent nations and mission boards of this. The U.S. ambassador is saying a genocide is taking place. This is the first in the 20th century, and threats against them, pressure against them will do nothing. In fact, may just increase the kill rate. The only thing that's going to stop this military force. And then, because the U.S. is not involved in war, so forth, he just says almost to his side, well, we're not going to do that. And of course, the consequence of this is the world did nothing, and between 1 and 1.5 million people died. And it's still known to this day, Turkey continues to deny this took place initially. They still are living in a state of denial. And I'm not saying the United States in that time frame maybe could have easily affected this. Perhaps it would have been quite difficult to do that. But this would have been an example in a more modern age where maybe the United States could have directly, or at least threatened this. And perhaps at this early stage in the war, if Turkish government knew there'd be direct military intervention for this issue, I'm not saying it would have stopped it, but perhaps would have slowed it down, the policy. So I think this goes to my point, which is, sadly, the world isn't made of, our population is 7.1 billion in the world right now, and we're not all Gandhi. It'd be wonderful if we were, but we're not. And so, based on that, although negotiation is always preferable, the international community, sanctions, let all those run their course. But there are times when only military force is going to answer the crisis at hand. Maybe for time, there my other debate participants, maybe I'll wrap it up right there.
I mean, on some of those points, I mean, there's an agreement to the point that sometimes, yes, we should go in, but I guess I differ with you on that it shouldn't ever be just the U.S. I mean, yes, we won World War II, we took care of business, but the U.S. shouldn't be the one counted on to shoulder these costs. The ones, I mean, yes, we are the most advanced, but it's not something we should go about alone, because when we do, we're gonna pay the cost, and then it's just, yeah. I mean, yeah, sometimes I guess genocides happen, so you're going to want to have to get in there, but I say go to the international body first and see if the world actually wants to get involved. I mean, I guess that's just the question is just, if something so bad is happening and no one is doing anything, are we the ones to jump in? I mean, it's just a tricky question, but I just don't feel that we are, and we're supposed to be the ones first in there to take care of business.
Can I rebut that?
If you're finished.
Sure, go for it.
Okay, I don't want to take it. But I agree with you, but the Security Council in the UN is preferable, but that's a very difficult situation. Both China and Russia are on the UN Security Council, and both of them have dismal human rights records. The last thing they want to do is champion a cause that deals with that topic, so both of them have veto power, and so it's very difficult to get a resolution passed that involves the human rights issue, whether it's on Tibet or any other issue, or even Syria. So far, in this current crisis, both China and Russia have vetoed and delayed most UN actions against Syria. And so, while no one wants to go unilaterally, but sometimes that's the only choice. Because you can't let nations that have horrible human rights records dictate when you get involved and when you don't.
And I mean, the other thing too, for me at the UN, it would have to be more, the structure would have to change. We're on a post-World War II UN, so the members of the Security Council that have all the power are our winners of the World War II. The world power has changed since then, and I believe more the General Assembly should have powers to enact military intervention as a whole. So all nations would get a vote and to cause stuff to happen instead of just 5 countries having to vote on what happens. Because you're right, you have the US and Russia and China, which are usually at heads or at odds with each other. So what do you do in those situations? You end up having a block, which happened in Kosovo. I mean, there's lots of times where that's happened. So you would need to, I guess, if you went for you actually wanted to go through the international community, you'd have to structure the international body a little bit better, or the way we do things, so everyone has a fair shake and has a vote. Because now you're going to see what we see now, where they kind of stop each other from moving.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay, so each of you have, should we agree on 1 minute? Okay, so each of you have 1 minute for your closing statements. Lorenz, you first.
Thank you all for being here. I want to thank Marquise. It's been a really enjoyable, it's a fun process. So looking forward to the next one. So, I'll just leave you with one brief quote here. We're not sure who said this initially. Perhaps it's Edmund Burke, but it's a well-known quote. Perhaps all of you heard it, but I think it's an appropriate finish. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Sometimes, and it's regrettable, but sometimes military force is the only thing that can stop gross abuses of human rights and the crisis in the world. And so in this case, if we can, our responsibility is we must act.